Hey folks, welcome into this introduction for Fusion Pro. And you see I've got a really nice postcard that's pulled up here, and these are the files that you're going to have in the class website as well, and we'll take a look at these things. So if we look at page 1, you see that we've got an area that's going to have a first name and then a little brief message, nice image in behind it. So it's a really well done, clean postcard. So how do we make this be variable? Well, let's look at, first of all, let's look at our database. And so it's going to be pretty familiar to you. You'll see all the standard things that are in here. Okay, and let's go to Acrobat. And this is the one that I've already done. You see the name on that one is Real Estate Mailer KH. And this one's finished. So let's look at the final product. So we've got a name here, and we've got two different messages with this line. It's either going to say come visit us soon or come visit us again. There we go. There's one with again. So we've got our name, address 1, address 2, city, state, zip, and we've also got a barcode that's down here at the bottom. We're going to put all those in place with this particular card. So our very first step is going to be to take our card, and as of right now there's no variable content with the card at all. We're going to add that on the Acrobat side. Okay? So what I've got up is our Fusion Pro panel. If you don't have that, you can click on Window and Fusion Pro, and that'll turn that on for you. So I'm going to choose Export Document. So I click the little pull down, Export Document, and I'm going to give it a new name. I'll call it Real Estate Mailer Demo. Save that. And we're going to get a little dialog box that pops up. And so we're now in Acrobat. And we're going to follow this wizard. And so we have to tell it where our data source is, just like we did with the variable stuff on InDesign. And so it is a flat file, delimited database. That's what you've been working with. We have to tell it the actual file name. So I'm going to browse here and see here, get to the right place. It's in a different PTI folder. Hang on just a second. It's under Shared PTI, Fusion Pro, Tutorial. Yours is going to be in your folder. This is the folder that I've given you, this Real Estate Mailer folder, and it's in Working Files, and it's called Input Data. So you'll know where yours is at. Yours won't be as cumbersome to get to as mine just was. So this one is a tab delimited file instead of a comma delimited file. If you were working with another type separator, then you would choose it here. It should look at the file and pull up which one that it thinks it is. So this file is tab. If you're working with yours, make sure that it says comma. Okay. And then we'll finish, and that gets us into our next part of the workflow, which is all in Acrobat. I'm going to spread this out so we'll have it full screen. And we've got to define a few things. We've got to define a few things with our data set as far as Fusion Pro is concerned. So I'm going to go up here to Fusion Pro and Input Options, and that gets us another dialog box. And if we want to look at edit fields, you can see how it pulled those from the data set. You could actually scroll through and see the names, and if you wanted to. We won't do that now. But I'm going to look at edit resources. And to start with, I'm going to add some files to our data set. So I'm going to do add multiple and graphics. And I've got 3 images that we're going to use here. And there they are. Exterior lounge, man phone, and smiling lady. So I'll do open on all those and tell it OK. So now we've added those individual files in place. Okay, so we've got some definitions we have to come up with. There's some rules we have to define. So I'm going to go here to edit rules, and this is going to be our very first attempt at making an argument. So we'll do new and go down to drag and drop, and that's going to give us the simplest way of creating this rule. So you can see that we've got to give it a name here. We'll call it season. And we just need to build out an argument. And it's all done through drag and drop things. And so we're going to say if the text value of, and then we'll bump out our fields here and say gender. We'll drag that up here. And say is M or the text value of gender is, let me make this a little bigger so you can see it, is F, then return soon. Okay. And then we're going to drag up an else, and we'll put again. Now, I know that you're looking at this and saying, well, if our database is using gender, and it's just an M and an F, then doesn't that get everybody here? No, because there are some blanks in our database. And so basically everyone that's defined as male or female in the database is going to get soon. And if they don't have anything there, they're going to get again. And it'll be a little bit more clear when we start running this. So I'm going to tell it OK. So now we've got our very first argument made. Okay, let's make another argument. And I'll tell it new graphic, drag and drop. And this one we're going to do to swap out an image. And we'll say lowercase value, if lowercase value of gender is, I want to make this a little bigger so you can see, is M. And notice it's looking for a graphic here. And so I'm going to go down to resources. And I'm going to say man phone. Okay. Let's do another one. If lowercase value of gender is F, then return smiling lady. And we'll put an else statement in. And we'll use that exterior line. Oh, I didn't name it. Every rule has to have a name. We call that personalized picture. So I'm going to click OK on these rules because we've got them, all of them made that we need. And remember, in our original, we had their name up here, and so we need to create that. And so what I'm going to do is see how that's selected with red. So under palettes, I'm going to go to properties, and here we've got our properties of this frame that is selected in red. And we've got a couple things we need to do. One, we need to give it a name, and so let's give it name swap, and we'll click edit text. You can see it's got first name in place. Well, that was only a placeholder from the InDesign side. It has absolutely nothing to do with the variable content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and I'm going to swap it out to first name and do insert. So with this highlighted, when I do insert, it changes it to first name with our greater than or less than. And I'm going to put a comma at the end of that. And so now there's going to be our swap. Okay, and that's an easy first one to work on. Now while we're looking at this second page, notice we've got a graphic frame here, and I'm going to call this image swap. You can use any name you want to here, totally up to you. And there's the rule that we created earlier that goes in place here for personalized picture. Okay. So we've got that much done. So we just applied that rule to this frame. Okay. So let's go to this one, and this is going to be, let's call this frame welcome. Let's do edit text, and what we're going to do here is just add in. We like what we've got here. We just need to get down below it. And we need to type in a line here that will be a little bit of static text, and then do our variable part. Okay, so we've got come and visit us, and we don't have a, we've got to fix a variable to go in this spot. So if I pull this down, you see I don't have, oh I do, we did name that season. So there's season, okay, come and visit us, and that was the one that we named season that either says soon or again. So we've got come and visit us soon, come and visit us again, depending on which rules apply to that person. Okay. I'm going to click on paragraph because I want to give us, just from a design perspective, I want to give us a little bit more space right here. And I'm going to put 12 point space above that. So we've got a little bit of space visually in there. And that brings us down to this last one, and that's just going to be our address. I'll call it address frame, if I can spell. So what we've got is exactly the same thing. We've already got content as a placeholder, but it's not variable. So what we've got to do is come in here and change out, highlight your placeholder, and then do insert. And make sure you've got your proper spacing in between those. We're going to talk about some custom things later, and so right now we're not going to worry about this blank line we might have for address 1, address 2. We'll deal with that as we do some custom things. So I'm just selecting each one of these little placeholders. And remember, those placeholders were just put in on the InDesign side so that we would know where to put things. We could have started with an empty block, an empty text frame, and do exactly the same thing right here. Okay. So we've got all those things built. We're almost ready to test it out and see if it all works. Okay, I almost forgot to put our barcode, and we're going to do a new text frame down here to give us a chance to hold our barcode. And one thing I didn't show you earlier is here under our tools is the fusionpro tool set. And so we can go straight to this edit rule part and create a new rule here. So I'm going to tell it new, drag and drop. Actually, I'm not doing drag and drop because we're just going to do a barcode. So I'm going to do a postnet code. Postnet barcode rule. Tell it next. And we'll base that on the zip code. And so there's our postnet barcode rule. The only thing we do now is we need to create a new text frame. And that's this tool right here, draw text frame. And I'm just going to draw it in here. And one thing that we can do when this is selected, I want to call this barcode, and under the edit text, I'll just do this postnet barcode rule that we just created. And so now that's in place. One thing I am going to do is go ahead and make sure that this is a good size. And so for my X and Y, 5.79 is good. I'll do this a little bit bigger, say 5.35, just so it'll fit well. The width, let's do it at 2.5, and the height at 0.35, and that should give us a good size for our barcode. So now let's go to File and Save. All right, we're almost there. We're ready to go ahead and get to our Compose menu and create our text, our multiple card. So I'm going to go up to Fusion Pro and Compose. And there's a lot of things going on here, and we'll talk about specifics a little bit later, but we've already told it our data source. That was done when we brought this in. And so for what we're doing right here, we'll leave everything as all the defaults, and I'm going to click compose. Cross your fingers, folks. And you can see this was a 100 record database. Oh, and look right here. We did get an error message that says the text exceeds the depth in the welcome field. Text is truncated. And so that's something we'll need to go back and look at, but that happens several places. So let's do a little troubleshooting. Oh, see right here, we didn't have enough room for a message. So what we need to do is go back and change the size of this text frame. That's what I'm good. Let's see what this does. Okay, so I just made this a little bit bigger. We'll go back to compose. All right, look at that. That was clean, no errors. So if you do get one of those messages that says there's overset text, that means it doesn't fit. So now let's see what it looks like. Come visit us again. Come visit us soon. You know what? I think that text is probably a little bit too big. So if we went back and made this a little bit smaller, smaller font than that, it would look better. But nevertheless, we've done our very first Fusion Pro document. Very straightforward. I don't think you're going to have any problems with it. Go back and rewatch the video a couple of times if you get stuck. It will take you a little while, the very first one of these that you do. But see, that is a full-on 200-page PDF that happened very quickly. So if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask, and we'll catch you with the next one.